Hello, and welcome to the Unstoppable You Life After Divorce, where we speak into how to let go, reinvent yourself, and create the confidence to say hello to the new you. I'm Amy Shade. I am your host, and today we have Tracy Malone. She founded Narcissist Abuse Support.com. It's a global resource to victims of narcissistic abuse. Her website concentrates on educating survivors and leading them to the resources they need to heal. Tracy is a narc abuse coach and educator and enjoys coaching survivors from all over the world. You may have seen her on YouTube or heard her on her podcast. Tracy is a thriver, and she has her first book out, which is called You Can't Make This Shit Up, and it launched November 2021. First, I want to say congratulations, Tracy, on that book launch, and to welcome you to say thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being a part of this event.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your own experience and how you help women?
Sure. I help women and men that are going through some kind of relationship with a narcissist, whether it is a divorce or whether it's their parents or family or someone else in their life. So I have been writing my book for about 2.5 years and really gathered hundreds and thousands of stories, really, and kind of incorporated their story and the lesson so that when people look at the book, they can see, oh, I don't want to do that, or watch out for that. Well, that's a flag. I've seen that. That's what I have to be careful for. So it's sort of looking at, when I have a YouTube channel and I made a lot of videos on divorce, people would be like, were you looking in my window? Mm-hmm. And I wanted the book to be that same, validation. That's what I need. So I've been helping people, and I run support groups, and I just love it. It feels like my destiny.
So tell us about the narcissist. Let's just kind of start off there so we know, some symptoms or what is a narcissist?
Somebody with who we call a narcissist is somebody that generally has NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. They are very self-centered. They need a lot of affirmations. They, and that's the sort of superficial stuff. The bottom line is that they are extremely cruel because they have no empathy for anyone. So even though you were in this relationship and married to them, you might not have seen the crazy mean yet, or you might have seen little dribbles of it. They use passive aggressive behaviors to torture their victims, if you would. But there's no greater time that we see the complexity and the terrorizing of people is when they're going through divorce. The narcissist is like out for blood. And even if you've been married for 30 years, they just take none of that in consideration and they go right for the jugular. And, they're entitled to their money. So why should you, even if you've been married for 40 years and took care of the kids, get anything? So there's a lot of pain involved with the victims. And they struggle with their own self-esteem and just, learning to be themselves.
Yeah, you spoke about having stories of different experiences that men and women had in these relationships. Can you maybe share a story? Because I don't think some people know that they're actually with a narcissist.
Sure.
So can you?
If you're going through a divorce, because that's what show is about. So if you're going through a divorce with a narcissist, literally you will have said, and I've got my button, you can't make this shit up. You will say, why are they doing this? How is this happening? They will stonewall the judge. They will not give any of their discovery, yet they'll pick on you because you missed page 9, the blank page of the American Express statement. They will make big hooplas over what you didn't do when they're still not doing anything. They will hide assets. They will hide money. They will lie. They will create false allegations about what you are, who you are. You're a great mom, but all of a sudden you're a terrible mom. And they're telling all the people that these lies and these false allegations, and then you have to like get into defense mode. And if that's what you're doing, then you may be with a narcissist. So really helps to understand, and they come in all shapes and sizes. A lot of people think of the grandiose, the overt kind of narcissist. You can see it. It's almost like they're flamboyant. They're so full of themselves, and that's what you think. The covert narcissist is the one that people miss all the time. They're subtle, they're charming. You're like, no, my narcissist isn't like that. But these passive aggressive behaviors and the other things they do are way underneath all of it. Does that help?
Yes. Yes. And when you're speaking about passive aggressiveness, what might that look like?
Well, they use guilt trips.
Mm.
They try to make you feel bad about yourself. They're just constantly belittling you and making you feel bad about anything that you've done. And again, it's passive aggressive can represent in so many different ways, but we have to understand that that's not normal. And you have to really do the work to learn what is passive aggressive. I certainly didn't know when I was in it, and learned all of this after on the other side. And so the covert narcissist is quite dangerous, and we have to know that they're out there. They will look good on paper, but what happens with the covert is in front of people, and this is what confused me, in front of people, they praise you. They put their arm around you. They tell everybody how great you are. And as soon as you get in the car, they're complaining that you didn't wear the right thing, or you shouldn't have said that to my boss. And they're just picking and attacking you. But then you get to the next party and you're the best thing. And you're just like, what happened? You're like, you can't do anything right. So that's how that works.
Yeah, I've been in that car before.
I
It's like,
think a lot of us have.
it's like, what are you doing? It's shocking, actually.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's shocking for us. And I think, I know we're kind of talking about like the importance of a plan in as in making a getaway and making new decisions. And that could be difficult when it's so like one moment it's like hot and nice, and the next moment is like horrible.
Mhm.
So do you want to speak into that? And I know your book, I think, has like 3 different sections. Can you speak a little bit about that? Yeah.
Sure. So again, part of the thing is in a divorce with a narcissist, you could be the one, and I call them the dumpy and the dumper, right? So if they dumped you, it's a completely different exit plan, because now you're like sort of backpedaling. If you were the one in charge, it actually takes like financial means to be able to leave. Right. So it's harder to leave a narcissist if you've been isolated, told, oh, you don't have to work, I've got you. And then they take all your money and hide it from you. Right. So it's a different journey to get away if you are dumping them or if they are dumping them, or, however it goes. But the important part is, no matter what you're doing, and as you strategize this, is that you keep your plans under wraps. If you're the one planning it, don't be like, oh, I'm going to leave you. Because as soon as you say something like that to a narcissist, it introduces what we call a narc injury. This is where you've gone black and white thinking, which is called splitting in the psychological world. You were good and now you're evil. Like they can't trust you. You've seen their secret, and so they have to attack. And so keeping your plan under wraps is absolutely essential. And for people, the fear of the unknown is like the biggest thing. Well, where am I going to live, and how am I going to pay the bills, and what am I doing? I don't have anything. I didn't work for 25 years. What am I going to do? Right. So you have to make the fear of the unknown known. What will I do? Where can I survive? How can I get money? How much am I entitled to in alimony or support? People don't even understand things like, if you've been married to someone for more than 10 years in the United States, you're entitled to half of their Social Security. And knowing the facts that, okay, you've been married for 30 years. If you go to a lawyer, they're going to tell you you're entitled to half of everything, where your narcissistic spouse has been telling you, if you divorce me, you'll get nothing. If you divorce me, I'll take the kids from you. Well, it doesn't work like that. But those threats, those intimidations have kept people like stuck in a long time. So make the unknown known. Get to a lawyer, get the support, understand what your rights are, and start to read, so that that kind of intimidation or that kind of gaslighting you is not going to have the power over you that it initially gave you. Like, oh, the fear is going to control and drive the car, as you just said. So learning about that is really important.
Yeah, and also if you've been under that type of aggression for so many years, I mean, it's really difficult to keep your confidence, your self sense of self really strong.
Mhm. You've been
Um,
controlled.
mhm.
That's like the thing about a narcissist. They control like who you see, what you do, all this sort of thing. So when you're in that control situation, you don't have your own legs yet. You don't feel confident about taking these possible chances of leaving this person. And as soon as you talk about leaving them, all of a sudden, like you said, they get really nice. And you're like, well, maybe I'm making the wrong decision. They're nice, right? This is the nice guy, not the bad one. And it's just a cycle, right? We have to break through it and go, this isn't right. This isn't normal.
Yeah, and I think even just having that clarity of that truth is so important.
Yeah.
So important to say that and to it not like you have to do anything about it at that moment, but that this is not normal.
This is
Um,
normal, and that's not true. Again, I'm gonna get money. I'm going to be okay. It
mhm.
takes the fear level like right from down to here where you're not going to be living in fear. And that's how they like to keep you trapped, right?
Mm.
It's to tell you you'll never get anything. So you stay for 40 years and then they have an affair with their 20-year-old secretary and you're out, and you're like, wait, I stayed all these years. So it's very hard when you
Very
leave.
hard, very
Yeah.
difficult. So, and I'm sure it's like really difficult when you have children
Hmm.
and navigating children with a narcissist and how to really keep yourself safe in that. Can you speak into that for us?
Sure. So protecting your children has got to be the highest priority. This is their future, no matter how old they are. If you have 20-year-old children, you still have to protect them. If you've got 5 and 6 and under 18-year-old kids, you've got to put the work in to make sure that they're okay through this process and through, the separation. Because what they do is narcissists like to turn the children against you, tell them, mommy is being so mean to me. She doesn't want us to be a family anymore. And then they're slowly turning the kids against you. So that's one of the tactics. And again, it's being open with their kids depending on the age and being able to have some really good conversations with them and setting the record straight. That's not true, kids. We're going to be okay. And, you're still going to get to see your dad, and you're just kind of soothing the children as much as possible.
And do you find that the narcissist is kind of abusive towards the partner, but nice towards the kids? Or is it his, do you see those type of dynamics in relationship, in that type of relationship?
A child to a narcissist is an extension of themselves, right? And so if the child is the honor roll student and doing really well, and they can be, look at my proud child, he's the soccer coach, he's the this, if you can like give them that accolades that they can go boast about, that child has a better chance of not being picked on. And yet the other child who doesn't do well in school or struggles is going to be the scapegoat, the one that takes the wrath almost as much as mom does. And you can have that dynamic. Again, you only have one child. It really depends on the moment, and that role can flip, because if you're the scapegoat, you can actually become the golden child next week. And that's, again, that good and bad. Was I good today? Was I not good? Oh, and so it really messes with the children. So you really need to get them into some help so that they can see that this isn't them. A lot of my business is talking to adult children of narcissists, where they have lived their entire life not being able to be themselves because they've got that shadow of mom or dad.
Yeah, I'm sure trust is very difficult for them.
Trust, absolutely. Yeah, because it's not been safe in their home. It's not been safe to be themselves. I have people that were that golden child and got 100, and why didn't you get the extra credit point? instead of being happy and going, way to go, oh my goodness, what if they were on their like graduating floor, graduating at Harvard, but your hair looked like crap today, daughter? How could you let that happen? Now all the pictures are going to be screwed up. Instead of going, you graduated college, they sit there and pick and pick. And so it's really hard to have a narcissistic parent, and they are going to need some serious help. And the earlier you get them help, the less likely they will end up on my, couch, if you want to say it, where they're sitting here just going, I don't know who I am. I'm afraid to do this. And they're trying to deal with their own relationships because it really affects their relationships. Most victims of narcissistic abuse have had some kind of family tie. They've seen this before and it becomes familiar.
So do you find that this is a learned behavior? So the narcissist maybe had a narcissist parent, or is it stemming from something else?
About the narcissist or about
the narcissist, about the narcissist
the
themselves?
narcissist generally has some kind of wound from childhood. They have something that happened to them that made them put this as a self-protection. So if they had trauma or they had a parent that never said they were good enough, they flip it and they make everyone else. That's what they've learned. They see that behavior, right? And so they adopt that as opposed to, I had a narcissistic parent structure, and both of my sisters became very narcissistic. And I was the hide my head in the sand girl and be independent and not try to impress them. I didn't really care. And so I became the opposite. I became the empath, the one that ended up with two narcissists. And, because it was familiar. I have it in my book that ghosting was our family vacation. So when a guy ghosts you or just like stops talking, oh, he'll be back. It's just normal, right? If we're used to that kind of treatment and that kind of behavior, we are unfortunately destined, because if we're givers, we're going to attract takers.
Mm-hmm. So what are in the work that you do you don't work with narcissists, you work with the victims of narcissists. So what are your how do you begin to work with them? How does the healing process usually start?
Well, sometimes we work with them for their validation. Like they come in different places, right? At first, they're like, are they a narcissist? And am I the narcissist? Because narcissists always call you either bipolar or narcissist or some other. I've ranked up to the psychopath, I hear my husband says I am. So, they will have put that on you. So if they come into that validation, is this a narcissist? And I say, we'll never know. There's no like blood test for that. They'd have to go to therapy, and most of them won't. So again, is it important that we name them? It is important because we can then look up the things and go, oh my gosh, yes, 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 yes. They do all those things. If it walks like a duck and it talks like a swan, it's a narcissist, right? Because that's the bottom line is they just have this charm about them, and it's the public face, and we can be sold that charm as well. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
That's the beginning. They could also come in for divorcing. I mean, we have a lot of people that are going, I'm going through this. What am I up against? How do I deal with this? This is what my lawyer says. This is what, my spouse is saying. This is what we're fighting over. How do I negotiate that? So it can be in all different levels. Again, parents, they come in and they're just looking to heal, to find themselves again, to believe in themselves, to trust, to like get rid of the fear, because they have lived a fearful life. And so identifying it, learning how to cope with these skills is going to change them. Learning how to set boundaries is going to help anybody. So it depends on where they come in.
Yes. But what's coming up for me is like, but to have support from someone like you, Tracy, where even the way you communicate can be changed in a way that is very helpful in these types of situations, whether it's, sharing, after the divorce with children or during the divorce, even just, there must be it's like you got to release so much so that you could communicate in such a way that's very clear, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, there's again, it's learning new skills, because
Yeah.
if it's not working, they're not going to change. And what happens with victims is we just expect them to change. We think, oh, they're gonna, if I teach them, if I love them more, then they'll know what real love is, and then, I'll be safe. But it becomes a communication issue where you can change the way you guys communicate, because they know your triggers and they trigger you and you explode and you're the crazy one, right? But they've just sat there and egged you on and done that to you. So learning to communicate, especially in a co-parenting situation, is something that I'd love to enlighten people on, because a lot of times we have to change the way we're doing it. And this is going to sound weird, but we have to kind of play into their fears. We have to play into the narcissistic fears. Like, their biggest fear is, I want to be the best. If I'm not the best, then, and so saying something in a statement, if you want your spouse to say, do something more with the children that they're just not doing, like even pay for a class, and you say, I really want you to pay for this class, and they're like, it's for you, I'm not doing it. No, it's for your kid. But if you sit there and go, gosh, you are so good at soccer, little Johnny wants to take soccer now, and you could train him because you are so good in high school. Like, you're giving them that you're so good at.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it changes the dynamic. They don't get defensive. Whereas you had just said, pay for this class, well, that's for you, I'm not doing it, right? You shut them down. But if you sit there with a little bit of sugar and be like, you're so good at, or I trust that you'll do this for our kids. And then all of a sudden, oh, she trusts me. Oh, yay. So there's a lot of communication and stuff that people can learn and change their life.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking that's like a hard pill to swallow. So you need practice.
Right. Again,
And
this is where people have to stay with them, right? If
yeah.
you're leaving them, it's a different story. But if you
Mhm.
have to co-parent with them, or you have to get through it, if it's your parents and you disown your parents, then you don't have the rest of your family either. Now everyone's going there for Thanksgiving and you're all alone and you're isolating yourself. So could you go to that Thanksgiving dinner and have a communication plan in place? Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. So we're kind of talking about like support, like how you support women. And so let's talk about managing our support, like in systems in this transition, or, you know, um,
In a divorce.
in a divorce.
In a divorce, we have to build a team. We have to actually think of it as a team, because nobody can get through this alone. And your best friends are really, really good to have as friends, and family if you've got supportive family. But at some point, they're going to not want to hear all the drama. It's going to be too much for them, and then you're going to feel isolated. So you really need to talk to a coach or a therapist that's going to get what they're doing and validate it. A lot of therapists are not even trained in narcissistic abuse. So if your therapist doesn't even know what this word means, next, right? Go on from there. So you've got to build a team of lawyers and mediators, if you get into that point, that have an understanding of this. They're not going to be doctors or therapists, but if they have come up against them in the court, then they can tell you what to expect. And this is how we're going to handle that sort of thing. So don't expect a lawyer to have narcissistic knowledge as you did. I mean, anybody who becomes like a detective to learn about this has much more knowledge than a lawyer will ever have, but you want to see that they understand what you're going through. So if you can do that and build your friends, tell your doctor, you need to make it clear to your doctor, because you may need antidepressants, or you may need anti-anxiety, or if you're having so much PTSD that you're not sleeping, the doctor needs to be aware of that, right? You have to pull in an accountant that's going to be able to do that. A lot of narcissistic divorces end up with forensic accountants. Count on the $10,000 or $20,000. If you've got assets, you're going to have to dig up the stuff because they've probably hidden them. So having an accountant and someone on your side that is going to be able to say, you'll be able to live on this, and have that, like, get rid of the fear, because the accountant's looking at the numbers and going, here's your budget, you'll be able to do it. look at that sort of thing. Understand that your employer needs to be aware of this is going on, because there'll be days when you don't want to get out of bed. And there's going to be times when you're going to come into work and you're going to get that horrible screaming call, and your boss needs to understand, so that you have that space. If you try to shield that from them, again, you're ending up in a place where you're not getting the support. They don't have to be there to support you. They just have to not fire you when you have to leave early because your spouse didn't pick up the kids. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, so just make sure you build a team and have your friends. And one thing that you really have to be aware of is your ex's family. Blood is thicker, and you have to understand that no matter how good your relationship has been, that they're probably going to side with their child. And so be careful with what you say to them. Be careful with what you share to them, because they are just an echo into your spouse's head. And so be careful of the allies and block all of them on Facebook. Like, I'm not just talking like I unfriended, my husband's sister, because then they could still look at your stuff. You need to block them. And then some people go, well, don't worry, he blocked me. Well, guess what? He can unblock you and see everything that you're putting out there. And you don't want that during the divorce. You want your security and your privacy. And so unfriending your best man and people that were in your wedding party is okay, but blocking them is better. You do not want them going back to your spouse going, did you see she went on a vacation? You don't need that kind of stuff. So that's part of your team, is to take out the bad ones and the dangerous ones. And again, if it's like your sister-in-law and you loved her to death, say, listen, sister-in-law, I still want to be your friend, but I have to unfriend you right now, because through her account, your spouse can see what you're doing. So you just have to really protect yourself. But if you need to talk to her about it and say, I'm still your friend, we can still text, but I have to get you off of Facebook. Hope you don't mind. And protect yourself that way.
And I know that because we're kind of talking about this life after divorce, or going through the divorce, and I'm thinking about the women who might be ready to start, opening up and dating again. And I know you have a free gift that is really helpful for even someone like me, because I don't know exactly what a narcissist does.
Right. So again, it's a beautiful checklist. It's 2 pages long, and if they're doing these behaviors, then you are, again, we're not saying, okay, they're a narcissist. We're saying if they do these behaviors, then that's not okay. If they ghost you, if they smear you, if they do all these things, put you down, insults, even if it's covered, like after they tell you you're too fat, but then they cuddle you and go, oh, but I love you. No one should tell you you're too fat. So you look at this list of red flags and go, you know what? This person checks too many of them. I don't think I should stay.
It's so important.
Yeah.
So important. Well, I think our time is just about up. It went by so quick.
Yes.
It just flies.
So many questions.
Yeah, I am like, have I dated a narcissist? I have to reevaluate. I'll get your checklist to see what's happening.
There you go.
But thank you so much, Tracy. And again, congrats on your book. I know it's helping many people, and it's much needed in this world.
Thank you. There's one thing that's in the book that I think is the most important thing when you're going through a divorce, with or without the narcissist, is I have this thing called "What if they don't" clause. And the reason that we have this is because narcissists get ordered to do something, like sell a house and give you money, and they don't do it. Well, what if they don't? That means you're going back to court for a contempt of court, and you're spending another $20,000 to get them to do what they were already ordered. So if you add this little tiny magic clause to the decree, they would pay your legal fees if they didn't do it.
Okay. Good.
Helpful.
Helpful. I'm sure everything's helpful in that book. So
I hope so.
All right. Well, everybody out there, thank you, and have a beautiful rest of your day.